An extraterrestrial alien told him there is no SEX in their world and that they grow in laboratories. It happened on 23rd of June 1976 in Sao Paulo, Brazil. That day, 18-year-old Paulo Contino did not come home from night school. The young man did not show up the next day, but his friend went to Paulo's parents' house and left his school books and notebooks, saying he had found them scattered on the street near the school. Thinking that the young man had been kidnapped, his parents made a statement to the police. But that same night, when Paulo's parents were at home talking about their son's disappearance to neighbors, acquaintances, and relatives, Paulo's father, Jose Alves, suddenly felt that his son was going to return. Jose Alves then realized that he urgently needed to leave the house immediately, and when he did, he found Paulo lying unconscious in a narrow area behind the house. The young man's body was so cold as if he had been there all night. He was immediately taken to the hospital, but the policeman who helped to transport Paulo immediately noticed that some kind of quote-unquote irritation seemed to be coming from the young man's body, especially in his hands. And it later turned out that this was probably weak radiation because the pens in Paulo's pocket turned out to be radioactive. An investigation of neighbors revealed that on the day Paulo was found, a neighbor and her daughter saw a glowing UFO over the roof of the Contino family home. At the hospital, Paulo recovered and talked about what happened to him. According to him, on June 23rd, all day he heard a strange whistling sound next to him. After leaving school, he went to accompany his girlfriend to her house, and then at about 11:30 in the evening, he noticed an unidentified flying object in the sky. He didn't even go to really get a good look at the UFO when he suddenly felt a strong tremor in his body and realized he could not move a single finger. And while he stood there, thus in the dark, empty street, a luminous object descended from above to below until it was a few feet from the young man. And then out of nowhere appeared a small creature with a large head, large eyes, pointy ears, a small mouth, and a tiny nose that looked more like a pig's snout. The creature had no hair on its head, no eyebrows, and was dressed in a very tight gray-blue uniform with an incomprehensible emblem on its chest. Then Paulo felt something invisible lift him and this dwarf up, and they were approaching a huge reddish-grayish cigar-shaped object in the sky. Paulo was very dizzy, and at that moment he somehow ended up inside this craft. He realized that he was lying on the floor, and around him stood three similar creatures with large heads. Paulo fell to his knees and then became paralyzed again, and at the same time received a telepathic message that he would not be harmed. After this, the paralysis disappeared, and he was instructed to follow the creatures into a large room where a group of 6 similar creatures stood. There was no furniture, and when they stopped, they told Paulo to sit on the floor. Paulo started thinking about his girlfriend, boyfriend, and parents, and at that moment a screen suddenly appeared in front of him showing his girlfriend, boyfriend, and parents what they were doing at that moment. It's possible that the alien cameras were watching the people around Paulo or were a projection of his thoughts. Paulo was enraged by such intrusions into his personal life and began to ask the creatures what they wanted from him, but they were silent. However, he again received a telepathic response that they would not harm him and that they were simply working to understand how life began in the universe, quote unquote. Paulo asked the creatures what they were and received an unexpected detailed answer. He's told that they are all women, but there is no sex on their planet, and they create children for themselves in laboratories. When Paulo asked to be taken back to the house, he was shown a red corridor in which there was a bed. He was lying there for some time. He could not clearly explain what was done to him there. And then he felt very dizzy again, and then somehow found himself near his home. He lay there for a long time, hearing the voices of his parents and neighbors coming from the house, but he could not get up and speak. At the hospital, when Paolo recovered, he complained of pain, numbness, and tingling all over his body. This incident did not seem to have any particular effect on Paolo's health, as much as the radiation from the pens in his pocket and possibly from his body, and there's no detailed information about this. And this is an event that took place in Brazil. Please leave your comments, and thank you for your support. Please support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.